I think I told you in the hello, Facebook and YouTube. I think I told you, Jessica, that Instagram always gives me a hard time. So we shall
Okay.
see what happens here.
I'm just along for the ride.
Okay, perfect. I think we're live for the first time ever. It is
Yay!
not dramatic to get
No
into
pressure or
Instagram.
anything.
No, wow, amazing. This is the first. I think I finally got the hang of it, or StreamYard just finally said, let's stop giving her a hard time. So let's give it a second just so people can join us, and then I will introduce you.
Okay.
I'm super excited to talk to you. Let's see if anybody's joining over here. Hello on Instagram and hello on all the other ones, Facebook and YouTube. I'm using two different places. So I'm on StreamYard for Facebook and YouTube, and then I'm on Instagram for Instagram Live. So if you see me kind of messing with my computer, that is just the technology that exists right now. Hopefully in a while, we won't need to do all that. And maybe I can handle all
Your
of them
skill
from
level
StreamYard.
way surpasses mine.
Dude, no, I mean, it's just StreamYard. What I don't understand is Facebook and Instagram are owned by Meta, but you have to log into them differently. I guess just the way that it was created before Meta got involved. And so it's just kind of a pain in the butt. But anyway, we have at least a couple people joining. So I want to first introduce you. And then we'll do, because this is a podcast. So I'll do the whole introduction and then we'll get started. All right.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Welcome to Covered in Pet Hair, a boozy show for pet lovers on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Isabel Alvarez-Arata, and today I have the pleasure of having a drink and a chat with a lady who's going to tell you all about what she does with her wiener. Welcome back to Covered in Pet Hair. I'm your host, Isabel Alvarez-Arata, and today I have the pleasure of having a drink and a chat with a pet parent, a professional dog trainer. She's a professional pet sitter, photographer, writer, and entrepreneur. She loves hiking and camping, makes paper crafts and jewelry. She is a lover of planet Earth, which I had to add because Earth Day's coming up. She's a road tripper, an adventure seeker, a Washingtonian, the state, born and raised. She is wife to Sean, dog mom to Otter, Gretel, who just recently made her trip to the Rainbow Bridge and Summit. She is the creator behind You Did What with Your Wiener. Her name is Jessica Williams. Welcome, Jessica. It's so great to have you on the show.
Thanks.
I'm so excited to talk to you. Every time I say who I'm talking to and I say your name, the name of your business, I get the funniest looks, the funniest reactions, and we're going to dig into all of that. But first,
and people just like saying it.
I think so too. I mean, I'm going to say it as much as I can, obviously, because I'm a whole 14 years old. And right. I just love the name. I loved meeting you at BlogPause, and I'm so happy we get to chat. And I love doing breed-specific conversations because I think those are I feel like they're so fun, but they're also not done that often in the mainstream pet world. So before we get into everything we're going to talk about today, about your wieners, we're going to talk about the drinking game that happens here on Covered in Pet Hair. And on Covered in Pet Hair, there is a drinking game for those that are watching with us or listening at home when this goes on the podcasting platforms. So every time you hear a specific word, which I'm going to show you right now, you take a drink of whatever you're enjoying, whether it's coffee, tea, your afternoon, iced coffee, whatever it is. An alcoholic beverage, obviously, if you're having that, and you drink it every time you hear this particular word. So Jessica, cover your eyes, please, because I'm going to give everybody the drinking game word
know what it is
right now. No, because we don't want us to say it on purpose. It just has to flow in the conversation.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, of course, it's this word right here. No surprises there. And so, Jessica, you can uncover your eyes now. So again, every time you hear that word, take a drink of whatever you're enjoying, but please be over 21 in the US to partake. Never drink and drive, and always drink responsibly if you're having an alcoholic beverage. So are you the, it's kind of early for you. So are you the afternoon day drinker, or are you having an iced coffee? Like I said, what are we having today? You?
I make a coffee in the morning. It's 2:00 for me. And then I sip it all day. So I'm done with it probably around this time. I'm like down to the last few
How
gulps.
big is this coffee? My coffee doesn't last but an hour
No,
max.
no, no. I don't. I just. Oops. There we go. I just don't drink it all at once. Hey, it looks
Okay.
really big, but it's about 16 ounces, I think.
Okay.
But
All right. So you enjoy a cold, neglected coffee in the
not
afternoon.
just cold, lukewarm. My husband's like, "Don't forget your coffee on the counter," and I was like, "No, I know it's on the counter. It's becoming lukewarm."
Well, I wanted to stay on theme because I love a theme. And I had to pour myself a German Riesling because we are speaking of a very, very well-known German dog breed. So I want to propose a toast to you for being my guest. Thank you for being on my show. And thank you for coming and sharing all your expertise about wieners
Toast.
here. I bet your husband loves the name of your um business or blog.
I, I guess I don't know. He's
He's
neutral, I suppose.
he's neutral about it.
It's also normal for him now. I mean, I started it back in 2010, and now he's just like, it's not a big deal for him.
It's not as funny as it is for the rest of us anymore.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Well, I always introduce this show with a game, and today is no different. And obviously, guys, we're talking about dachshunds. Dachshunds. I've said the word wiener 5 times. I've talked about German wine. Dachshunds. That's what we're talking about today. That's the wiener that we talk about with You Did What with Your Wiener. And so the first game that I've come up with is called Dachshund Delight. And it's a trivia game all about wiener dogs. Are you ready to play?
Are you asking me the questions?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All
Let's
right,
go.
let's do it. What does the word dachshund mean in German?
Badger hound. Oh, sorry.
That
Let's just say it yet.
yeah, you could say it or I could read it. But you already knew it. So
I thought I was answering the question.
you
Sorry.
are, but I had multiple choice.
Oh,
So here, let's do this. A is badger dog, B is sausage hound, C is low rider, D is little hunter.
well, actually, I have to correct because it is badger dog because Hund means dog in German. So,
Perfect. Okay, awesome. Yes, dachs means badger and hun means dog. And dachshunds were bred to hunt badgers in burrows. So perfect. Good job. All right. The next one is, what is a common nickname for a dachshund? A, doxy, B, saucy, C, badgie, D, pupster.
I'm sure that somewhere someone has called their dog all of those things, but I would say A.
Doxy. That's right. And do you mind when people use that word? Because I use it a lot because
No,
dachshund's hard for me.
I use it sometimes to shorten, but I usually say dachshund or sometimes I'll say wiener dog just because that's my brand. But
Right.
I call mine personally nickname. I call them weenies, like the weenie.
Oh,
So
cute. That's amazing. Yes. So they are also lovingly called wiener dogs or sausage dog because of their long bodies and short legs. Okay. Next question. What group does the American Kennel Club classify the dachshund in? A, working group, B, terrier group, C, hound group, D, toy group.
I believe they classify them as scent hounds.
They are hounds. They're in the hound group. And it's so funny because when I think of a hound, I
But
think of like a big dog,
yeah.
but they do share the trait of a hound that when they walk, they like kick their ears.
Yeah.
So to me, that
They,
is key hound behavior.
they are actually though more terrier than hound, which is interesting. In other countries, they're in
Really?
a class of their own in a lot of other countries because they are a combination of terriers and hounds.
Got it.
So
Yeah,
they're
I
not
guess their
actually
work is very similar to the work that terriers
and
do.
they're working dogs. So it's just weird how they're classified in different countries, but the AKC does classify them as scent hounds.
Amazing. Okay, 4. Which famous artist owned a dachshund named Lump? This one was a new news to me. A, Salvador Dali, B, Pablo Picasso, C, Frida Kahlo, D, Andy Warhol.
Well, B.
Yes, it was
But
Pablo Picasso. If I had been like, if my life depended on it, I wouldn't have gotten it right. I would have said it was Andy Warhol. I don't know. Something
well,
about Andy Warhol would give me dachshund.
did he own one too?
I
No,
don't
maybe not.
know. Like,
But I
I
know
just,
Picasso did.
yes. Picasso adored Lump, and the pup even appeared in some of his paintings.
Mm-hmm.
I missed that in art history. Totally missed it. Probably would have paid more attention if there was a dog involved. All right, next one. What was the name of the dachshund in the Disney movie Toy Story? A.
Ooh.
Slinky, B. Dash, C. Bouncer, D. Wiggly.
I think that was a long time ago.
It was the Slinky dog. And do you know what's really funny is I, again, just learned this today. I've watched that movie a million times. I've been on Slinky Dog, the roller coaster. And because he's animated, I didn't really think he was a specific breed, but Slinky Dog is a doxy. So yes, good job. All right. The next one is one that I think is going to be a little obscure for all of us, but here we go. Which fashion icon was known for being inseparable from her dachshunds? A. Coco Chanel, B. Queen Elizabeth II, C. Jackie Kennedy, D. Queen Victoria.
Phew. I'm gonna guess A, just because I think the other ones are a no.
No, so I don't know what dogs Coco Chanel had. We know that Queen Elizabeth II loved her corgis.
Right.
Jackie Kennedy, I don't remember having a dachshund,
She
but
had a dog.
apparently Queen Victoria helped popularize the breed in England during the 19th century. So Queen
Okay.
Victoria.
All right. That would have been my
Maybe
second guess.
see,
but-
maybe the Brits would have gotten that like this, you know,
Yeah,
but
probably.
we don't really know Queen Victoria as much, so we dismissed it. Okay, next one. How many coat varieties do dachshunds come in?
That was not multiple choice.
I mean, you can tell me A1, B2, C3, D4.
3.
3. Okay, so what are they? Do you
Do you
know?
want to get technical though?
Ooh, get technical. I'd love it.
So 3. The proper classifications of dachshunds are smooth, aka short hair, wire hair, which is short hair. I'm getting all nerdy, but people are gonna learn something. Short hair with furnishings. So that's what gives them the beard. They're short hair dachshund with furnishings. That's what gives them the beard and the scruff. And then long hair. But some people breed together wire hairs and long hairs, and you get what's called a silky wire, which is a long hair with furnishings. It's not a proper coat type. It's not it's not recognized by any breed club anywhere, but people do breed for that.
Okay.
They look more like a doodle.
What is furnishings other than the stuff that's in my house that gets dusty?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you've seen terriers, right?
Mhm.
Where they're short hair, but have like short hair on most of their body, but maybe they have a ridge of hair on their tail.
Oh,
And they got a scruffy beard and stuff. Those are called furnishings. So
interesting. So the rest of the body's short, but the beard is long.
yeah, the beard and usually on like the back of their legs, like there's certain spots on the body that have some wiry hairs. That's what they're called, wire hairs. And you don't notice that as prominently in the soft wires, but they are genetically long hairs with furnishings. So, but they look more like a doodle, like they're very soft fur. So,
Okay.
But
All right.
again,
And
not
that's amazing.
recognized.
I will say this before we go on to the next one. I know you pet sit professionally just for dachshunds, which is amazing. I love that you've specialized. I was a professional pet sitter, and my favorite little dog of all time, her name was Lulu. She was a long-haired dachshund, and she is my dream dog. May she rest in peace, because I think she's been at the Rainbow Bridge for at least 10 years now. She was pretty old when I was taking care of her, but like that, we called her a little goat. And we adored her, and she was the cutest, sweetest, most wonderful thing in the whole world. And that is my dream dog. And my daughter's nickname is Lulu, so I don't think I could name my new dachshund Lulu, but something along those lines, probably Soleil. Anyway, I haven't thought about this at all.
If you're not aware, the long hairs tend or more likely to have that personality than the wires or the smooth. So if you do go to get one, literally a long hair is your dream dog.
Because no, I'm on the right track. I love that. I love that. Okay. So the last question I have for this game is the longest the longest lived dachshund on record was over 30 years old. True or
Yeah.
false?
Oh. Mm. I don't think so, but I'm gonna say true.
No, you're right. It's false. It's
It was
false.
another dog. It was another breed.
It was, yes, exactly. There, I think that's the longest living dog, but the longest living dachshund was a dog named Chanel. And he or she, because AI told me both, was 21. And
Okay.
for a long time held the Guinness Book of World Records
Huh.
until they,
That's
somebody
interesting. I'll
else
have to tell
won.
one of the guys that follows my page because he has dachshunds that have lived to be 25.
Oh, so he needs to update AI.
Yeah.
Chat GPT, wrong answer. All right, perfect. Well, I want to dig into how you ended up with dachshunds, because there's always a dog in my experience doing this, interviewing pet industry people.
Mhm.
There's always a dog. Did you grow up with dachshunds? Was there one that just came into your life and like flipped it upside down?
Yes and no. I mean, so I grew up with animals. We grew up on, I like to say, an urban farm before it was cool. We lived in like
Okay.
tract housing, if you guys know what that is. I'm kind of dating myself, but cookie cutter rows of houses, very small lots, all this stuff. And we had basically a farm. All our neighbors hated us. We had chickens, ducks,
Oh my
dogs,
god.
cats, mice, other rodents, like, yeah, birds. Anyway, then I don't know. I got older. I did get a cat at one point. Oh, we had cats when I was growing up too. Got a cat. But that was after high school, before I went to college, and then I went to college, and the cat went to live with my grandparents, and then I was petless for a long time, and I swore I was a cat person. But then my degree is in geology, and I went to field camp. We go on hikes and stuff, and people would bring their dogs, and I just fell in love and said, "Oh, I like." People say with a baby, like when all of a sudden you want a baby, the flip just goes or the switch just goes off. That's how it was for dogs, and I wanted a dog. Couldn't had to wait till I was out of college. Moved in with a roommate, and then she promptly got a little dachshund. I wanted a Rhodesian Ridgeback. I was set on it.
That's
Um,
hilarious.
but then she had to go out of town for work a lot, so I was like, "Yeah, this is my trial dog. I'll take care of your dog for you while you're gone." And eventually, we moved apart, and I took him temporarily, but it turned into a long-term thing.
Oh
So he
wow.
changed my life in a way because I used to hike with him. He helped me train for a marathon. He'd do 5 to 7 mile runs with me and stuff. But I didn't start my blog until we rescued Gretel, because the day after we rescued her, we took her on a hike because we weren't sure if she'd like it. We were just going to test the waters, and she loved it. And literally on the trail that day, I was wanting to learn how to use WordPress. I told my husband, I said, I think I'm going to start a blog about the dogs to learn WordPress. I'm going to call it "You Did What with Your Wiener," and then the rest is history. So
It just came to you on a hike. You did what with your wiener was just like a spiritual, intuitive download. It
well,
wasn't like, how do I come up, how do I name
it was
this project?
it was more of a logical thing because we had shared stories of hiking and camping and running and stuff with Chester for years, and people were always shocked. They were like, "What? You took your dachshund where? You didn't have to carry him? They ran with you?" They were just surprised. So, but the name, yeah, just came down from who knows where, and that just seemed perfect based on the reactions we always got from people. So,
That is really cool. I love that. I really figured you were just like kind of like somebody, you and your husband maybe came up with the name or somebody had said it. So I think that's really cool.
literally in a flash of an idea.
I love it. Some of the best ideas do come that way. So I get it. So do you get a lot of like crazy reactions when you tell people that you quit a full-time job to do this?
Um, yes and no. I think average pet owners are less likely to know my story. The people that know about me quitting and doing this are usually my fellow bloggers and online friends
Got it.
work in the pet industry. And many people have done that work in
Yeah.
the pet industry. So it's not quite so shocking to them. I tell you what, my dad was sure shocked. One day I can picture it. We were walking the yard, and I said, I think I'm going to quit my job. I had a government job where as an environmental scientist, and my dad, who's very responsible and, follows the rules, does it, was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to quit my job. Because the other thing, a lot of people don't know, because it's not that I'm ashamed of my age, but I don't go around advertising it either. I made that leap at like 38 years old, mid-career. I wasn't 20. I didn't decide this would be fun between high school and college. Like, I literally was on my way to management and quit my job to blog about toxins.
I think it's great because I was 28 when I made the leap from hospitality to pet care. And people looked at me like I was crazy, but they got that, like, at that point in my career, I was working way longer than I should have been working for a lot less than I should have been making. And they
Yeah.
got that it was, but I understand. And tell us what you were doing as a full-time career.
So, my degree is in environmental geology. I specialized in hydrology, so water science, groundwater specifically. Um, and I did a lot of jobs as an environmental scientist. The job I left was stormwater management. I had been doing that for full time for 6 years. So I don't know if people know what that is, but when it rains, the water goes down the drains in the street and then ends up out in the ocean and or lakes or streams or whatever. And my job was to make sure that system was working correctly and make sure people weren't dumping pollutants down there, because you obviously don't want them to go straight
Right.
to your local swimming hole. So
Well, and then so now you still uphold the principles I'm sure you learned by picking up after your dogs wherever you go. I'm sure you're like
yes.
really, really
Yeah.
committed to
One
them.
one time I did the whole like pick it up and put the bag by the side of the trail. I'll pick it up later. Well, I wouldn't say one time. I'll tell you the other story in a second. But one time, the first time I did it, I forgot the bag. I missed it. I'm not kidding you. I lost sleep over that. Like, but the second time I did it, actually, I don't remember if it was me or my friend, and it was near the front of the trail, but we got back and forgot. I ran back like a mile to get it. So,
See, I had an inkling that would be the case because I get it. I'm better now. I used to be so like I cloth diapered my kids. I used reusable wipes,
mhm,
which people thought I was crazy. I've never done family cloth. If you know what that is, it's reusable wipes for humans. I've never done that.
mm,
I'm a little better now about like letting my kids use like disposable wipes because they're older and I
yeah.
really don't want to wash their wipes. That's really the truth of the matter. But I can only imagine somebody who made that their like life would have so many hangups about like seeing poop on the trails or not watching people like walk by and pretend that they didn't see their dog pooping. Are you like that person who like yells out of the window?
Not really.
Good.
Because one
Good.
thing
'Cause
I learned,
it's a dangerous place in this world that we live
well,
in.
and something I learned because I basically was an environmental regulator when it comes to
Ooh.
stormwater, and worked a lot in environmental education. And something I realized or observed and then made a conclusion about it is that almost nobody, even the most passionate people about the environment, do 100% of the things 100% of the time. So I can criticize somebody for not picking up their dog poop, but maybe they turn off every light every time they exit the room and turn
I
off
like
the
that.
water when they're brushing their teeth. Every time I do the water thing, but I'm not good at turning off lights. I
Mm.
also like my showers,
Yes,
you
that's
know.
where I'm wasteful. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, wasteful with showers and stuff, but I pick up my dog poop every time, but that doesn't make me better than somebody who takes a short shower or drives
Yes.
an electric vehicle but leaves their poop on the ground.
I love
So,
that. I
I
love
can't
that.
judge.
I love that. I love it. I really do. I still think
I
people
mean, I
need to
do
pick up their
judge, but
damn poop.
I judge inwardly. I keep my mouth shut.
I only because I'm a small woman, I don't like roll the window down or
Yeah,
put
that's
the
the
window
other
down
thing.
and like yell. But
Mhm.
all of me really wants to
Yeah,
yell and be like, I saw that,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
don't. I control myself. I don't have road rage. I have poop on the side of the road rage. That's what I have. All right. So when you started your blog, it was just, for fun. Then you
Mhm.
transitioned to full time. What were you trying to create with the blog?
Well, like a lot of people that started around the time I did or even before, I didn't have a vision at first. It just morphed as I went along. So originally it was to share hiking and camping pictures and adventures and stuff with friends and family because it wasn't Facebook back then and stuff, The blogs was our social media. I remember I literally would spend like 3 or 4 hours a day going to all 30 of my friends and reading their posts and thoughtfully commenting like
Oh,
almost every day. But anyway, but then it was like I was living in the city and I wanted to write more than I could get out for because I was still working full time when I started. So I thought, okay, well, what can I write about that's related to hiking? You know, dachshunds, obviously, in general, but I mean, what topic? So I did get into, start going down the road of like health and everything because everything always has to tie back to being active with your dachshunds, though.
yeah.
And I need to keep them healthy so they can hike on the trails.
Yeah.
So I talk about health, or I need to train them so they're not nightmares to take out and hike and travel with. So all of it ties back to that.
That is, I love that. And I love that you specialized, right? Like that is, you are talking about one specific breed,
Mhm.
which really makes it so relevant to somebody who wants to do right by that breed. And for me, that breed it's not like that common. So it's not like your
Mm.
golden retriever. It's not like your lab.
Yeah.
It's not your doodle where like you have a ton of information on the internet about those
Oh,
because they
mhm.
are like
Yeah.
so common. I love that you found a breed that like while I love them, I see them, I celebrate them when I see them, they're not the doodle. I'm sure they've made a doodle out
That
of
is
them.
correct. On the internet, there's more information about those kinds of breeds. I will say, I also around the same time I started my blog, I started a social dachshund meetup club in Seattle,
I
and we
love
have
it.
2,000 members. Our biggest one, and we do like 3, 4 events every month. Our biggest event draws about 50 people in the summer, and then we do that once a month. So I see a lot of dachshunds. I've seen a lot of dachshunds over the
That
last,
is so
12
cool.
years of running
I
the
love
club.
it. I love
Yeah.
it so much. I love it because yeah, like once when you have something more specialized and then people love to connect with people of
Mhm.
like mind or like dog. So
Yeah.
finding people and then you probably refer like vets to each other so that vet
Yes.
turns into like your
We have a fa
specialized doxy vet. Yeah.
we have a Facebook group, and there we share information about local, dog daycares, pet sitting, vets and stuff.
Love it.
I think it's dog lovers in general, it's this way, and then any breed group is this way, but I can speak specifically to dachshunds, because for special people.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, not in a better than anyone else kind of way, but we're quirky, you know?
Yeah.
And you meet somebody that have a dachshund, you're automatic friends, basically. Nothing else really matters. Do you like sports? What politics are you? Things like that. We don't have to talk about any of that stuff. We're just automatic friends because I see you and you love your dachshund. You're just as crazy about your dachshund as I am. And we could talk all day, every day about just that and be friends.
Yeah,
So,
agreed. I totally get that. I get it because I'm a pet person, and I think the same is true for pet people. And then
mhm.
cat people are very much like, oh, you're a cat person. I'm a cat person too. And then you see them connect
Yeah.
on that
Mhm.
level. So I totally get that. And then I've had other guests on the show where one of them was like all about Rottweilers in the Chicago area, and she too
Mm.
had like this huge community, and it was like they could like they know the same people, like they know the breeders, like they know the good ones, the bad ones. They can talk
Right.
about like the drama within like the breeding community and like the issues with the health or whatever. So like they're really
Yeah.
connected and they're all advocating for the breed, which I think is awesome. So
Mhm.
like I know there's people against like breeding and all that, but I say as long as people are advocating for the breed, doing right by the breed, genetic testing, creating like the healthiest version of that breed, I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
So how long have you been building this wiener empire of yours?
I started in 2010, the end of 2010. So that day that was going to be a life coach. I was done with my life coach training and they were like, oh, this new WordPress thing, everybody's getting on it. That's where you want to build your website. But I wasn't quite ready. So that's why I decided on the trail after adopting Gretel that I wanted to learn how to, I'm an early adopter of technology kind of. So I wanted
Yeah.
to learn how to use WordPress, but not ready to start like launch my coaching business. So I had the idea and the name on the trail. That night I started the blog. And so gosh, it'll be 15 years this November.
Okay, are you celebrating in some way? Because that's a big
I
thing to celebrate.
I
It's a big
should, I
milestone.
guess. I don't know.
You should.
I I'm really my husband and I forget our anniversary all the time. We forget and neither of us care. We're like,
You know, it's
"Oh,
funny. Yeah, my husband and
oh whoop."
I'm traveling for our anniversary this year, and I was like, "Hey, I'm traveling on July 11th through the 14th," and he's like, "On our anniversary." I was like, "Oh yeah, that one. Sorry." And it's like our 10th. It's like a big one too. So I get it.
It's a day.
It's just we're actually traveling a ton before, so we're gonna have like 8 celebrations of our
Right.
anniversary, but we won't be
Yeah.
together that day. Or like
We
he's driving me to the airport that day.
we went out to dinner with some friends. We went for a little hike and then well, I went for a hike, went to dinner with some friends, but invited my husband to show up for the dinner part and I paid for the dinner and stuff. And then I remembered it was his birthday 2 days later and I was like, "Oh, by the way, that dinner was your birthday present." And he's like, "Okay, cool."
You know, I love that because, you know, I feel like we should celebrate every day and like
Yeah.
you have living breathing. It's not just a business. It's living breathing creatures that you take care of, that you learn from, that you like they teach
Mhm.
you, you teach them, all that good stuff. And I know that one of the big things that you're really passionate about is actually their health,
Mhm.
their well-being, their needs being met. And I think because they're a small dog, they often are misunderstood and people
Mhm.
think they're a really great pet for maybe a family, maybe like kind of like a sedentary family, and I don't think that's always the case. So I want to play another game with you, and this one's
Okay.
called Wiener Workout.
Okay.
And this is all about the
Is this
infamous
also multiple choice?
multiple
Okay.
choice. Yeah, I think there might be one true or false, but
Okay.
this one's all about their infamous physique,
Okay.
which is why we call them wiener dogs. Well, the first one is, I think you kind of already hinted at it. What is a common health issue for dachshunds due to their body shape? A, hip dysplasia. B, intervertebral disc disease, IVDD. C, asthma. D, collapsed trachea.
B, IVDD.
IVDD, yes. It affects about 25% of dachshunds during their lifetime. True or false?
True.
It does. It does. And it can lead to pain, mobility issues, and even paralysis if not treated properly. True or
Yes.
false?
True.
Have your dogs experienced IVDD?
Um, that's a complicated question, but I think what you're referring to is an actual disc injury where their mobility is impaired. Yes,
Okay.
Gretel had what they call a grade 2 injury. So she had just some pain and wobbliness, and we just had to treat it with 8 weeks of crate rest
Ooh,
and rehab and stuff.
wow.
Some
Okay.
some need surgery. She didn't need surgery. The reason I say it's complicated, and we can get way into the weeds, but the short cliff notes are that almost every dachshund out there has the intervertebral disc disease, but only 25% of the dachshunds develop a disc calcification, which then results in a disc rupture. So,
Got it. So this is just everybody's going to have it. Some of them, 25% of them are going to actually like experience symptoms related to an
yeah,
actual acute injury. Okay.
yeah.
What type of movement should dachshunds avoid to protect their spine? A, this is avoiding. A, running. B, climbing stairs. C, walking on leash. D, fetching.
Um, I
And
don't
it
think
could
I
be
can,
more than two, if more than
I don't
one.
think I can answer this question without launching into a novel.
Please.
There are a lot of misconceptions out there. If you are interested, let's go through each of those really quickly, one by one.
Perfect.
What was the
Yes, let's
first
do it.
one?
Running.
Running. Okay. For most dachshunds, that's probably a no. It's a it's a whole risk benefit ratio for humans, and most people are uncomfortable with running, if you're talking about jogging with your dachshund, most people will not do that. Like I said, I ran with my dachshund, 5 to 7 miles, not a problem. There's an ultra runner I know, Katra Corbett, and she runs marathons, literally marathons, 26.5 miles with her dachshunds. But they have the best, excellent sports, healthcare, and everything. She's comfortable with that risk, Most people are not. Now, if you talk about running off lead at their own, like making their own choice when they want to go and
Right.
stop versus trying to catch up with you and running with you, that doesn't need to be limited.
Okay.
They're going to tire out before it's anything that's going to hurt them. And in fact, that kind of exercise is recommended to help keep their joints fluid and their muscles strong. So
Cool. Okay. So like if they're playing and running, all good. If they're like hiking with you, all good. But that whole like regimented running on leash next to the human who's like trotting along.
yeah, because the problem is people don't notice when their dog's getting tired, and your dog will work really hard to keep up with you. I get that criticism with hiking too, but I know their signs they're getting tired. I've been doing this for 20 years, like, running and hiking with my dachshunds. So, but most people don't. But anyway, so
Yeah.
no one needs to be scared of running, but probably jogging with your dachshund, especially on pavement on leash, is not probably great in most cases.
Yes. And I'm going to jump in and say for most dogs, that's probably not ideal because of the same reason. You don't know when your dog's had enough, and your dog is probably going to keep going just to please you, just to like keep up. And then they're going to be in pain or injured
Yeah.
later. So I think that goes for most, unless you really know your dog's like
Mhm.
done, and then you listen. Because if you know your dog's done and you still have like a 5-mile walk home, then it's probably still not ideal. Okay. Climbing stairs was the next one.
So dachshund owners, most dachshund owners will be like, "Oh, no stairs ever." That is not the case. There's actually more recent evidence based on a like 2000 owner survey. Most countries are more advanced than the United States when it comes to dog care in general, but it's specifically dachshund too. And the UK is way more advanced than we are. And so the Dachshund Breed Council did a survey, and they found that dachshunds who are allowed to do limited stairs, so up to 10, we'll say maybe a day. We're not talking hundreds of stairs a day. They found in that survey they had a fewer incidence of back issues, and it's the same kind of thing. It's exercise that can build muscle. So my answer to that would be, and the other thing is, going upstairs is not a problem unless the problem arises if there's a chance your dachshund could slip and twist their spine or hurt their leg or something. Going downstairs has a greater impact on them than going upstairs.
Interesting.
But still, I would say if your dachshund, we have, my old house used to have 5 stairs going downstairs and up. Even my dachshund with IVDD, I let her do the stairs all the time. There were 0 problems. My other one never had any issues.
Okay.
But again, it's what the owner is comfortable with, but I would argue that some stairs are good.
Okay. So this is good for me to know because I have stairs in my house and I don't plan on moving ever until I can't do the stairs. Then I have to move.
Right.
So that is good to know for me. And what do you do? The alternative is just pick them up and carry them up and down the stairs?
Yeah, or they make these things called stair blockers. It's basically a piece of wood, or fancy piece of wood that goes against the bottom of the stairs. So the only time they can go up and down the stairs is when you let them.
Got
So
it.
you can either let them go on their own, because that way, at least if they're following you up, they're not usually running super fast. So there's more of a controlled movement, and you're limiting how many times a day they're doing it. Whereas
Yeah.
if you left those stairs open, they might decide it's the best thing in the world and tear up and down those stairs. That I would probably not do.
Okay.
Is let your dachshund tear up and down stairs 100 times a day is probably
Got
not
it.
great. But
Understood. All right. Perfect. And then walking on a leash.
walking on a leash is great. It's amazing. It's fine. But if your dachshund's constantly pulling on leash, whether you use a collar or a harness, not a good idea. It's important to teach them loose leash walking, because it builds, at the very least, it builds disproportionate muscles, and it puts undue pressure on their spine in abnormal ways. So that can cause some compression and stuff. So walking on the leash is great and amazing. Dachshunds, one of their biggest problem is pulling on leash. So I'm not criticizing anybody, but it is, not only is it less annoying to have a dog that doesn't yank your arm off everywhere,
Yeah.
it's actually safer. So
Yeah, exactly. Especially for these dogs, which I think it's safer
mhm.
for all dogs, but especially for these dogs, the
Yeah,
way they're built. Okay. How much exercise does a typical healthy adult dachshund need each day?
30 to 45 minutes.
Okay, so what's really interesting is AI said 20 to 30 minutes, and that's why I didn't give you the answers.
AI underestimates. But yes,
It
30
does.
minutes would be sufficient. 30 minutes a day would be sufficient. It also depends, like my dachshunds, and this is ideal. I don't even walk my dachshunds every single day. Like I have 5 dachshunds to walk. I used to try
Yeah,
and walk them all together. I don't anymore. It's a nightmare. I don't have fun. They don't have fun. So everyone gets rotated. You walk
got it.
1 to 2 at a time. And so I might walk 2 this morning, 2 in the evening. But if I've got 5, then tomorrow I walk 2 different ones. And maybe one, they only get an hour walk every other day, but average 30 minutes a day. So,
Okay, perfect. All right. And actually, I skipped one. Fetching was on the other
oh,
question. How do we feel about fetching? Fetching has been a bit of a controversy in the dog training
yes.
world in general, but let's talk about it in general first and then about dachshunds. How do you feel? Because I know you do dog training and you're an expert.
Yeah. So I can't say I'm an expert on fetching, but it is true that anything done repetitively when a dog develops an unhealthy obsession with it is just not good. So some dogs are so ball obsessed that they're like, throw the ball, throw the ball, throw the ball. And when you bring the ball out or they think the ball is near, they're uncontrollable and they won't listen to you. And then they want to keep throwing it. And it's fun to watch your dog enjoy themselves. But if you um throw it for 30 minutes, they could end up limping and be sore
Yeah.
after or tear something. So it should be done limited and controlled. And personally, I didn't want my dachshunds really obsessed with the ball. So early on, if they showed overexcitement and obsession about the ball, the game stopped immediately and it went away until they calmed down.
And
So
what does it look like when a dog's obsessed to a point where it's concerning?
they get crazy eyes. They're like panting. They're I don't know. It's hard to explain. Think of it
They're
like
trying to get a fix. They're like, yeah, they're really
what do you
worked
mean?
up.
Think of it like a football player. Someone's running at the defensive guy, and he's like, trying to get him because the other guy's zigzagging, and that's what they look like.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I like that analogy. That's perfect. So yeah,
But
I would say too, and it is kind of like abrupt movement. So back and
mhm,
forth and back and forth and stop and go. So
anything
it is a lot.
repetitive. So, I mean, I would suggest things to make it better is if you're throwing the ball, sometimes throw it short. You throw it, but they're going to run long because they think that's what you're doing, but throw it short so it tricks them. And then they're like, wait, it's not always, it makes their brain think and also limits their running. Throw it in different directions. Throw
Yes.
it, right and then left. And then I watch a dog who's super ball obsessed and we work on control. So he gets the ball, but he's really good at dropping. He gives me the ball and then I say down and then wait. And I actually people will say that it's mean maybe. It's it's oh, something fell off my counter.
Oh
Surprised the dogs didn't bark. But that it's no that it's mean, but I will roll the ball on the ground in front of them or have it in my hand and be like, huh, just like this, like I'm gonna maybe throw it. And because I'm teaching him to work, to have impulse control,
got
self-control.
it.
And then when I do let it go, I don't chuck it as far as I can. I just lob it kind of. So the game is the anticipation for him and the waiting and the following the rules. That's mental stimulation super tires him out. It's going to tire him out way more than throwing the ball for 30 minutes. You do that for 5, it's probably going to tire them out just as much. So, and it teaches them self-control, which leads into other things in life. So
yeah, I think a recurring theme here is that we assume that dogs are going to stop when they're physically tired, but they don't always. They don't always. I remember I always tell this
not when
story.
they're obsessed like that.
Yeah, I had an English lab show up to one of my pool parties that I did when my business was first starting out. One of my staff members had a pool in Northern Virginia, and she said at the end of the season, let's have a pool party. We raise some funds for rescue, and then I have to winterize it so it'd be perfect. We invited I invited a friend of mine and her husband, who had a beautiful, I love him. His name was Kai. He was one of my favorite dogs ever. He was a gorgeous English lab, black, beautiful. And that dog was like 11 years old. And it was the first time he had played fetch in a pool. And the next day he could not move. And they had to like call the vet and get like pain management because he worked himself to the point. And we all thought it was adorable. It was like maybe an hour and a half party, 2-hour party, but he didn't stop. But of course, like I was younger, I was less experienced. They were younger, less experienced. And the next day we were all like, oh yeah, we should have stopped him.
And the thing is, a lot of times the best way to learn where your dog's limit is, and I'm not encouraging anybody to push the limit, but the biggest lesson you're going to find is if you accidentally do push it, you're going to know not to go that far next time. It's really going to stick with you. And so I'm definitely 100% not saying like push your dog till it's too far to find out where his limit is, but accidents happen. It'll teach you a lot of lessons about your dog limits and their signs. Like when I'm hiking, one of the first signs I see is I used to hike only on leash. Now some of my dogs get to be off leash, but they'll usually be with me or up ahead of me. But when they start to get tired, they're lagging behind me a little bit is one of the first signs that they're getting too tired. So you'll learn what happened before it was too much, what could have you done differently kind of thing.
And then cut it back. And then cut it back like to half. Like Kai should have like stopped after 30 minutes, really, truly. We let him go way too long, but we all learned, and he was 11. So they don't get smarter as they get older. They still are obsessed with the ball and with the pool, and in his case, it was both. So he was like, just like in heaven. But we almost sent him to heaven prematurely because we let him do too much. Poor guy. Okay. So this is something that you have a pet peeve about. Despite their small size, dachshunds have a tendency to develop a condition because of their body shape and love of food. What is it? Is it pancreatitis? Is it hypoglycemia? Is it obesity or anemia?
Well, it's obesity, but it could lead to the first two.
Exactly.
And maybe the last one. I don't know enough. I'm not a vet.
Yes. So obesity, it's a pet peeve of yours because it's a really big risk for them, right?
It's a risk for them. Being obese puts more weight on their back and their spine. So if they do have compromised discs, there's greater chance of a rupture. It is harder if they do suffer a back injury and you have to do rehab and treatment. It's harder to get that mobility, to build back up the muscle and to repair. They can develop all kinds of other health issues. And it does, even just on the surface. I mean, I'm not skinny. I've been fatter. Sorry, that's probably inappropriate to use that word. But
literally, I was just thinking the same thing. I was like, I've lost 15 pounds and my knee doesn't hurt so much anymore.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So I'm not making, So anyway, I was talking about myself. I have been larger and it puts more pressure on my back, my knees. I'm type 2 diabetic. My blood sugar, I've lost almost 10 pounds in the last 6 months, 8 months. And my blood sugar is much more within range, just 10 pounds. So it makes a huge difference, like no pun intended.
Yeah. Well, speaking about size, this is the next question. Sorry. Again, I'm 14 years old. Speaking of size and how it super matters, how many size varieties are officially recognized for dachshunds in the US? So
in the US?
In A1, B2, C3, D4 in the US.
2.
2. And how big are these sizes of
There's
dachshunds?
miniature dachshunds, which are 11 pounds or under at 12 months of age. And there is a chest measurement circumference that goes with that, but dachshunds are always pretty much a certain proportion. So most people don't bother with the chest measurement because it's always within range. But 11 pounds or under, 12 pounds or over is a standard. And people often call them tweenies because this is confusing. Standard size dachshund, but then there's a breed standard guideline with the AKC, and it says that standard size dachshunds are typically 16 to 32 pounds. And people get confused because they think, oh, they're not a standard until they're 16 pounds. No, they're a standard if they're any bigger than 11 pounds.
Okay.
But what they're saying are typically 16. So the breed clubs are all about showing and classes. So if you're going to show your dachshund and you're in either a standard class or a miniature class, depending on weight of the dog. So they call them tweenies if they're 15, like 12 to 15 pounds, but that's not recognized. That's just a fun pet term that has come about because of people's misunderstanding of the classifications. So
which do you have? Do you have the miniature or the standard?
I have Summit's a little heavy. So this is the thing. She's a miniature. She's a big miniature. She's like 11.5 pounds. So she's not quite 12, but she's gained a little bit of weight over the winter. So she is 12, a little over 12.
Okay.
So, but she is actually miniature because at a proper fit weight, she is not, she's 11 pounds or under.
Okay, perfect.
So yeah, but Otter is a small standard. He actually is a classically smack dab in the standard because he's 16 pounds. Okay. So that whole typically 16 to 32, he fits there. But even at 15 pounds, he's what they call a small standard. So he's a standard size, but he's on the small end of that range. So,
okay. So Lulu, my dream dog, who may she rest in peace, was probably a miniature long-haired because she was tiny. She couldn't possibly be more than 11 pounds. So great job on the wiener. What did I call this game? Wiener workout game. Question: how hard is it to keep dachshunds in tip-top shape? Because they love to eat. I do know that about them.
Yes. I think that can be true for a lot of dogs, I guess. But again, I'm a dachshund expert and I just know dachshunds. And a dachshund will convince you, always trying to, most will always try and convince you. I would say 95% of dachshunds will try and convince you that they are starving. So, and they're so cute. And especially if they start demand barking or they're looking at you like, please, I'm so hungry. People are like, oh, they look hungry. I need to give them food. I'm like, these dogs will convince you 24/7 that it's food time. So you have to be the human and calculate their calories and feed the appropriate amount and then be like, sorry, guy. But then the other part is, there are some medical reasons like humans that dachshunds might be overweight and that sometimes can't be controlled. Right. But it's just like people, it's diet. It's diet. It's what you're eating, calories in, calories out, exercise. Yeah. So if you're feeding them a lot and you're not exercising them, they're going to get fat.
Yeah. And I feel like the smaller the dog, the more dangerous the weight gain because of percentages, right? Like I tell this to my husband who's 6'2" and 200 plus pounds.
Right.
I'm 5'1". So like if we both gain 10 pounds, it's not the same thing.
Yeah,
and
totally not the same.
It's the same with our dogs. Like your lab gains versus your miniature poodle, different.
A half pound, especially a pound, is very noticeable in a small dog. So I
feel like it is in me too.
My first dachshund, Chester, I thought I was doing a really good job. He was really active, but he was my first dog as an adult and the only dachshund that I knew. And And it wasn't the internet. I couldn't just look up what a healthy dachshund looked like. There were
Got it.
books. You could find some pictures in books, but some of those were not the fit, and I thought he was a healthy weight. And then I adopted Gretel, and she was only a year, so she was still in her lanky, skinny stage, like she was almost too skinny. But I remember being in the vet's office for her first exam, and the vet had her back in the room, and I've got Chester with me. I brought him in, and like you look at the shampoo bottle in the bathroom, I'm looking at all the signs on the wall, and I see it's the first time I heard of the body condition score. And it basically goes by look. Does your dachshund have a tucked abdomen, or a dog, in hourglass shape and stuff? And I was like looking at the sign on the wall, and then I was looking down at Chester and looking at the sign on the wall, and I was like, "Oh, buddy, we got to go tonight." It turned out he was almost 2 pounds overweight, and I didn't know.
But that's it. That's all it took for him to be like overweight is 2 pounds.
Oh, very overweight. Yeah. And but most I've seen dachshunds that are like 5 pounds overweight, and it is crazy. There was a dog talking about community, and everyone like knows about it. I don't know if you ever heard of Obi, the obese dachshund. He was a standard size dachshund, and let's not criticize the owners that ended up surrendering him because they had health issues, but he was 77 pounds. A lot of medium-sized dogs aren't 77 pounds, and he was supposed to be a small dog, no more than like, I think he was maybe lost back down to 30 pounds or something. And there was a lot of drama around him, who was fostering him, who was taking care of him, the rescue that was involved and stuff at the time. Again, not criticizing anybody. No. Everyone's got some blame. But I lost friends because everyone in the dachshund community around here took sides. And I tried to remain more neutral, but lean towards one side that lost me. Like, it was obvious. I tried to remain neutral, but it was obvious that I was on more one side than the other side. And some people stopped being friends with me because of that.
Yeah.
Because I, was not on their side. Anyway, so I forget why I mentioned that.
Well, no, well, I will say this. It's easy to let your pet get fat. It is easy. It is.
Yeah.
What my pets right now have gained weight in the past month. They have gained weight. I do kibble and I do freeze-dried raw. And I think that I've been adding more raw than I thought I was adding to the kibble. And now I need to cut back. Yeah. And these are not dogs that beg for food. They're really, like they're not looking at me crying to make them a bacon and peanut butter sandwich. Like they're not doing any of that. They are just being fed what I miscalculated.
Yeah.
On their meals, right? And that is so easy to do. And then you add we love through food culture that we all have. I'm Latina. Right. We do that.
Food is love.
Food is love, right? Like, it's crazy. My grandmother will be like, feed them more. The kids need more. I don't have anything to give them. She's in assisted living and she's worried about my kids not having snacks. And I'm like, they're good. I promise you they're good. They don't need any candy. I promise you. And so it's the combination of how easy it is to like mess it up. It's also them begging for food and making you like want to give them food. And then the culture of love is food and food is love and all that. And it's very complicated, but it is like something we need to be intentional about. And I like Chris and my husband looked at each other the other day and we were like, they're all looking a little chunks, except for the cat. The cat we've been doing right, because I let the cat eat. The cat doesn't gorge himself, and the bigger dog doesn't really gorge herself either. It's Satchmo, the Schnauzer, that has gained weight because again, he's smaller. So like that miscalculation affects him more than does the 50-pound dog. So I agree with you. It's not like a blame game. It's just trying to do the best that we can. And when it comes to talking about breeds specifically, I always like to give my guests like the opportunity to talk to those who are interested in the breed and give them like the pros and cons. So why don't you tell my audience, myself included, who might be interested in getting a dachshund, why you think they would be a really good pet for some people, and maybe cautions as to who they wouldn't be a great pet for?
Yeah, so I think any domesticated dog, I mean, like I do get all in the weeds. I'll try and be quick. But so this last year became a certified family dog mediator. And this is a course that goes over all of the breed categories and their histories and what we have bred them for. Because back in the old days, it was just dog, like way, centuries and centuries ago. We bred them specifically to do certain jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And that made them good at some things and bad at some other things. Each dog is specialized, and then we decided to keep them as pets and stop giving them their jobs to do, which, I do that too, right? Like we all do that. That's just the way
Mm-hmm.
our culture has gone.
Yeah.
But what people fail to realize is that dogs are still genetically the same and mentally the same. We bred them to do this job, but now we're no longer giving them that job and we're expecting other things from them. And we can't overcome their natural instincts. It's like, how do I get my dachshund to stop chasing the cat? Good luck with that. They were bred, or how do I get my dachshund to stop barking? Like, oh, I got the wrong breed apparently because it's so annoying me. It's like fingers on a chalkboard. But I also know that I'm not going to get them to stop barking at something. It's compulsory. They do it without even thinking about it. It's what they were bred to do. What I can do is limit the barking. Like, hey, thank you very much. That's enough. Now let's move on.
Right.
But I can't stop them from barking. But anyway, so people forget that. So with that in mind, dachshunds were bred for hunting. They were bred for running through the woods for decent length distances, going down in holes, sniffing out critters, alert barking to their hunters where they were at with loud, deep barks so they could be heard through the woods among, all the other noises, blowing trees, all the things. That's what they were bred for. And they were bred to chase the game and to dispatch the game very quickly. And so those are all things that dachshunds still want to do.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, if we're going to keep them as pets, we have to teach them we can't squash their instincts, but we can help point them in the right directions. Like I said, we can't expect them to stop barking, but we can reduce the barking. We can't expect them to stop chasing the cat, but we can give the cat a safe place to escape to that the dachshund cannot get to, things like that. So I am a big proponent. Small active dog is amazing. Athletic dog is
Yes.
amazing because you can travel with them. They're easier to transport. You'd think there's less dirt and hair, but no, I'll say not that. But
They might be cheaper to groom because some grooming facilities go by weight. So
cheaper
maybe.
to feed.
Yeah,
Cheaper
that's
to
true.
feed. Like
Yes.
so if somebody wants an outdoor adventure dog, but lives in a city, wants something smaller, easier to take care of, you can emergency on the trail. Something you can pick up your dachshund. You can't
Yeah.
pick up 100-pound dog,
Right.
So I am 100% like, if you want a adventure dog in a smaller package, get a dachshund, right? But they can live in other environments. I would say it's not super ideal probably to live in a small apartment with somebody who can't walk them regularly.
Yes.
That's probably less ideal for them. I get asked a lot, people see my dachshunds and just in the club. We have people that come to the club that are looking to get a dachshund, but they just want to kind of try them out. So they come. This lady said, "Oh, I live in an apartment. Is a dachshund right for me?" And I said, not really, no.
The
I was like,
barking alone would make me
if you want me
twice.
to be honest, too much noise, usually not enough exercise. But I mean, that's, some people do. It's less about the space they live in and more about the affordances you can give them to have the outlet
Right.
for their instinctual needs. So it's really hard for me to say like pros and cons, who they're good for, but to help people make their decision. They bark a lot. They chase things. They have a tendency to be nervous and reactive. So if you get a puppy and you raise them right, or get lucky and get one from a shelter that's been raised right, or just is naturally calm. I mean, I've seen dachshunds that are just super mellow, not a problem ever, and they've got zero training. That's kind of how my first dachshund was. That's why I didn't train him, because he didn't really need it, And but they bark a lot. They chase things. That's really hard. that include children in the house. They can be fearful, which can result in dipping and biting. So you just have to be aware of all these things and willing to set them up for success and mitigate them. And by set them up for success means making an environment, like, for example, if you're tired of them barking, but they love to sit on the back of the couch and just vigilantly watch out the window for things to bark at, they no longer get to lay on the couch or move the couch so it's not in front of the window and put frosted glass up.
Right.
So it's harder for them to see things. Now you've just probably reduced the incident of barking without yelling at them or getting mad or going through months of training, which you can do to help improve it also. But there are things you can do to help mitigate it too.
Yes.
Without
Management is so important.
Yeah.
I feel like people want to like change the dog, but why don't we change the environment? Sometimes it's easier. Trust me, like with kids too, I do it all the time where I'm like, okay, obviously this candy that he has access to is making my son crazy. Let me take the candy out of sight, out of mind, right? But we do we do this with kids. We don't do it with dogs. So I know you do dog training for Dachshunds. Do you work with anybody like virtually? Will you, if my audience wanted to reach out to you?
I do almost exclusively virtual sessions. Awesome. And just to clarify to people, I don't exactly know what to call myself because I'm not a behaviorist. I don't have a 4-year degree. I didn't go, I'm not a certified behaviorist. I'm not. But I'm also not what I would just say a dog trainer. My thing is what's your goal? What do you want your dachshund to do, to be able to do with you? What do you want them to stop doing? Let's figure that out. And the first 2 things I will recommend are better fulfilling their needs and the management aspect. And 70, I would venture to say 50 to 70% of the problems go away when those 2 things are done. So that's not, can you call that training? I mean,
yes, of course. First of all, it's a complete, don't even get me started. I'm gonna get in the weeds now. Dog training is completely unregulated. There are people who have had one dog for 10 days and now they're dog trainers. Okay. So like, yes, you're a dog trainer. You're a dog trainer that specializes in dachshunds.
I've been dachshund sitting for 10 years and I've watched about 100 dachshunds over those years.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've managed everything from like dogs that wanted to bite me when I came within 5 feet for a week to like what I'm dealing with now, like is just hyper aroused all the time. And I've got to manage that and different personalities. So I have a lot of experience with managing dogs and behavior.
Yes, of course. And I love that you specialize in dachshunds because I do think, like you said, the genetic component cannot be ignored. Mm-hmm. They were bred for a purpose. And when you breed something for a purpose, you can't just ask them to put that in their back pocket and forget all about it. Like I live with a border collie and a schnauzer, 2 dogs. and actually I did my genetic testing on Kira and she's more Aussie Shepherd than border collie. Mm-hmm. She looks just like a border collie. But apparently, according to this genetic test, these schnauzers and Aussie Shepherds are 2 dogs I would never willingly have. Because of their genetic predispositions to herding, barking, all that stuff, right? Yeah. I just happened to end up with these dogs. Kira came with my husband in the marriage, so I had no choice. And I love her. I adore her. She's like the perfect dog. He had adopted her literally like 6 months before we met, so I've raised her just as much as him. And then the schnauzer showed up at my front door in Louisiana. I tried to rehome him with my sister, and now he lives with me. So when I tell you these dogs will forever be who they are, and I just manage our relationship and their needs, that is just how it is for all of us. And when one day I have the pleasure of sharing my life with a dachshund, you are going to be the first person I call because I want to make sure that I get it right for them, just like they probably spend their days thinking, how do I get it right for her? Because I want to make her happy.
They do. I mean, people say dachshunds are stubborn and can't be trained, but that is not true. They're whip smart. What they are bred for is to think independently, because when they go down in the hole after something that's trying to kill them, no one is around to tell them what to do. They have to make their own decisions. And so they are literally bred for that. So
Wait,
now
so
people,
badgers, I mean, I know badger, like to badger is like a bad thing. Like we
yeah,
literally have a
no, they're
bird called
mean.
to
They're
badger. They're
nasty.
mean, right?
Yes.
So these dachshunds are no joke. Like they are
Yes.
fierce little fighters, little
They are,
warriors.
and they're bred to be like terriers, to be tenacious, which means that we have bred them to override their natural fear. So they're bred to go hunt, but instead of saying, this might not work out so well for me, the way it's going, they are bred to just go,
Keep going.
no, you didn't. I'm going to win, and to keep going. And that is literally what they're bred for. And so sometimes common complaints I hear are related to those kind of traits. And so as a family dog mediator, that's the first place I start is let's look at what's going on and let me explain to you, not in a top down kind of way, but let's have a conversation about your dog's needs, because yes, there's
Right.
what they're bred for, but then there are also individual needs, because if a dog doesn't get its instinctual needs met in some, like, in an appropriate way, they will find an inappropriate way to do that, and inappropriate to you, to the person, to the owner. So let's get their needs met, and let's talk about that part. And then, like I said, about just even environmental management, then we'll talk about training. Would it benefit you to do a loose leash walk, and would it benefit you to teach them to lay on a mat and have some impulse control? Yes. So let's work on those things. But yeah, so I mostly do virtual. I will do some, if people live in Seattle, I'll do kind of a hybrid, but it's mostly just all virtual. And a lot of dog trainers do that. It is newer,
Yes.
but I think it's actually more beneficial to do it that way, because if I go to your house and visit, your dog is going to act, probably in dachshunds specifically, in an extreme fashion, and I'm not getting the real
Correct.
picture of your dog's personality and what's going on. Whereas if you video it, take a video and send it to me, I get a true reading on your dog.
I
And
completely agree. Yeah,
so
I'm a huge proponent for virtual training for that exact reason. And you find somebody in my area in El Paso, there is no dog trainer that, first of all, is all positive reinforcement based, which is a requirement for me, but
right.
also who would specialize in any breed, like
Yeah.
literally any breed. There's no specialized breeder here. So like if I have a breed and I want, like I know if I had an English lab, I would go to my friend Dale Ward, who specializes in labs and puppies. And then if I had a doxy, I would go to you. And like, obviously, we're not going to all live in the same place. So
Right.
for me, it's always the dog
It
trainer
opens your
comes before.
options so much more.
Yes.
Yeah. You can go to like the specialist people for that if
Yes.
you do it virtually. So it's really
Yes.
nice.
The specialization always comes before the location. If you're going to go with somebody just because they're in your vicinity, you're probably going to be settling for less. That's my opinion. Now, thanks to technology, you can get all the best of both worlds, where it's like convenient and specialized and quality,
And then you're
and
not
maybe even a
spending an
little more
hour
affordable.
or even 30 minutes driving to the training
Exactly.
lesson, one at 5 o'clock on every Tuesday.
Yes,
We can set
exactly.
up whatever schedule works for you. And also in my training programs, let's say we do a 6-week training. That's not just 1 hour or whatever schedule we decide on, one day a week. You get basically 24/7 access
Yes.
to me. I can't always respond immediately,
Right.
but via WhatsApp or email. So we work together and have a
Yes.
conversation. It is, you're
Yes.
working with me for 6 weeks straight.
Yeah. I
With,
love that.
with some in-person kind of meetings here and there. Or not in person, but I mean like virtual meeting online and stuff.
Conversations, chats about mindset and needs and education, which is what we did today. So I could literally talk to you about dachshunds
I
all
know.
day. I really could. I really could.
I know.
I do need to wrap it up because I could do this all day, but I don't want you to have to stay on here for the rest of the day. So
And
I want
people
to
are probably
propose
tired of listening to me. So.
No, not at all. I mean, I feel like I almost wish I had like endless time so I can open up to questions. Like my friend Brooke just commented that she had a wiener that was so sweet and such a pleaser, except she peed in the house. She got
Potty
her
training is a huge one.
potty training is challenging a lot with small dogs for some reason. And so there is a lot that I wish I could do and like open up to questions, but I'm sure, how can my audience learn more about you and reach out to you if they wanted to maybe consult with you?
So everything, my core business card, if you will, is my website. You did what with your wiener. If you go on there, you'll see on the home page is a link to click through to my training and behavior consults. But there's all kinds of information too on there about enrichment. I consider hiking and camping and traveling also enrichment. I mean, it is. I say I consider it. It is. But most people, when they think enrichment, they're just like, oh, I'll throw them a treat toy. That's like
puzzle toy.
better than nothing, but not really. So a lot about health, a lot about training, and all that stuff can be found on my website for free. But then they can contact me if they want to actually just set up a consult to ask me some questions. I do a free 15-minute consult. And I'm not trying to take people's money just because. If I can answer your question or point you in the right direction in 15 minutes, I'm doing it. I got other things to work on.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, it's like, I'm going to give you the answer and send you on your way. I'm not going to automatically try and push you into some expensive package with me.
Yeah.
Generally, though, we do the 15-minute, and then we will need to do a longer consult to really dig into the why and everything. But then if somebody needs assistance with implementing what I've suggested, I have that option too. So
amazing. Well, I just want to propose a toast to you for being my guest, for sharing all your knowledge and love of dachshunds. I loved this conversation. Thank you for being my guest.
Thank you so much.
No, I literally can't thank you enough. I also want to thank my executive producer, Mark Winter. Thank you, Mark. I always toast to you. And to our audience for joining us. Thank you for being part of these awesome conversations. I have to shout out my sister who got me this hair clip of a dachshund.
I love it.
So I needed to shout out to my sister. It's like in the middle of the night for her in Spain, so she won't know that I even did that. But cheers to let's toast to us, and let's toast to a life covered in pet hair, because there's no better way to live. Cheers. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. To learn more about Jessica, you just go to YouDidWhatWithYourWiener.com. And to learn more about me and Covered in Pet Hair, please visit coveredinpethair.com or petliferadio.com. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.